This video is on rates, word problems. So we've done a couple of videos now where we've reduced rates or reduced written rates down to, say, 1 unit. So if it's kilometers for every 3 hours, we've reduced it to 1 hour, or if it's kilograms per, if it was like mils per second, we've gone and converted the rate to mils per hour. But now we're looking at actual word problems where we have to apply our knowledge of rates. And usually this is just requiring us to convert the rates like we've done in other videos, but it just means it's in a problem setting, so you've got to read, you've got to interpret and be a bit more careful. So let's have a look at a few examples. A fruit picker can pick 480 oranges in 3 hours. At this rate, how long will it take to pick 100 oranges? So it's clear, I hope, to you. You can see that the rate is provided in the question to us, and we will write that in our own mathematical notation. So 480 oranges, and we'll write per 3 hours. That's probably the way I'd like you to write it. And we've got to work out how long it'll take to pick 100 oranges. So that's my question mark, is if I pick 100 oranges, how long will that take? Well, to get to 100 oranges, I've got to go and get to another quantity. And depending on how good your number skills are, you need to sort of think, is there a number that I can change the 480 to through division or multiplication that will help me get closer to 100? All of a sudden, I'm thinking about the numbers that go into 100, like 50, 10, 20, and 25. And I think as I listed those numbers that go into 100, one that popped out to me was 10 oranges, because if I can work out how long it takes to pick 10 oranges, then I can easily go from 10 oranges to 100 oranges. So that's probably the way I'm going to go. There's more than one way, but that's the way I'm going to proceed at the moment. So to go from 480 oranges to 10 oranges, I'm going from a larger quantity to a smaller quantity, so I am dividing. And hopefully you know your division, or you've got good enough arithmetic to know that if I want to get to 10, I have to divide 480 by 48. Okay, because when I'm dividing, I can see that the 48 goes into 48 once, and 48 goes into 0 times. So we'll divide by 48, and then on this side I will divide by 48 as well. See what that gives us as a value. It gives us a decimal, but there's nothing wrong with that. So we're getting 0.0625 hours. And then I'm going to convert from 10 oranges to 100 oranges. So I'm going to have to, now to go from 10 to 100, that I will multiply by 10. So with converting rates, you're going to be using multiplication or division. And whatever I do over there, if I'm going for a larger number of oranges, I need to times both sides by 10, because obviously the time will change as well. And that means I need to multiply, when I multiply by 10, I'm going to move the decimal place 1 over. So instead of a question mark, I now know it takes me 0.625 hours. Now, if you want to know how many minutes that is, well, to convert, let's give your answer in hours and minutes. So we've got 0.625 hours, but that's not hours and minutes. So to convert 0.625 hours into minutes, what I can do is times by 60 to get it into minutes, and that ends up being, it's not very long, it's only 37.5 minutes. Yeah, that makes sense actually, because 1 hour is 60 minutes, and this is only like roughly 0.6 of an hour, so it's a little bit over half. Yeah, so if it says give your answer, I think that's just a typo there. We don't want to give our answer in hours and minutes. Maybe it means give your answers in hours and give your answer in minutes. So the answer in hours is here, and the answer in minutes would be 37.5 minutes. So either is fine. Just make sure you understand that to convert from hours to minutes, we need to times by 60, as there are 60 minutes in an hour. All right, that's that question answered. So how long will it take to pick 100 oranges? Well, it's going to take this much time in hours, or this much time in minutes. All right, number 2, Jerome drives. I had to put one of my students in my video. So here we are, Jerome. This problem is dedicated to you. I know you love the problems. Jerome drives for 290 kilometers from Yass to Albury. The petrol consumption of his car is 11.3 litres for every 100 kilometres. So petrol consumption just means how much petrol is your car going to use up to travel this distance of 100 kilometres. And obviously we as drivers who fill our tanks every week. We'd like to get as far a distance as possible for every 100 kilometers. So the bigger this distance, the more economical the car is in terms of fuel consumption. And the price of petrol is 82.3 cents per litre. So how much petrol would Jerome use on this trip? Well, let's get this rate down that we've been given. This rate tells me about petrol consumption. Now, Jerome is driving a distance of, he's going from Yass to Albury, but this is the important stuff. He's travelling 290 kilometres. That's what I really have to focus on. So under the distance side of my rate, which is over here, I'm going to put the 290 kilometres. Now, this is where you need to know how to convert the rates over when the numbers aren't nice. I know that to go from 100 to 290, I know I have to multiply because I'm going from a smaller number to a bigger number. But if you don't know, the easiest way to work out what to multiply by is just to take the 290 and divide it by 100, and that'll tell you what you have to multiply by. And it goes in, when I do the 290 over the 100, I actually get 2.9. So what that means is to go from 100 to 2.9 to 290, we times by 2.9. So just to recap what we just did, if you have the number 5 and you have 45 and you think, oh, I don't know how to go from 5 to 45, I know I'm multiplying because I'm getting bigger. One way to work it out is to divide this number by this number. And when you do that, you get 9. And what that means is 5 nines are 45. We've just done the exact same thing, but with harder numbers, I think. So when you divide the 290 by the 100, you do get 2.9. And whatever I do to one side, I will do to the other because I'm changing the distance. So clearly I will have consumed more petrol by increasing the distance. And I've now consumed 32.77 litres. So when it says how much petrol did Jerome use, he used 32.77 litres, just to answer the question. Make sure you answer the question. Calculate the cost of petrol for this trip. Well, it tells you here that the price of petrol is 82.3 cents per litre. Now I'm going to write that as a rate. Just clear out this space here. But I'm going to change a little bit when I write it. Instead of 82.3 cents, I'm actually going to change it into dollars. I can change cents to dollars by dividing by 100. So I actually get 0.823. Now I know money usually only has 2 decimal places, but I want to get it in dollars before I even start calculating. And we know that it costs $0.823 per litre. So that means per 1 litre. And what I know is that Jerome needs 32.77 litres. So I've lined up his litres on the exact same side as the rate. And to go from 1 litre to 32.77, well, I would just times by 32.77. And because I'm increasing the number of litres, clearly the costs are going to go up. So I'm going to do it on the other side as well, 32.77. So we're going to take our 0.823, the price per litre, and times by 32.77, and that gives me 26. Now this is money now, what my final answer as well, so I am going to round it to 2dp, and when you do round it you get $26.97. So what's the cost of petrol on this trip? I'll just write a quick therefore, that's the cost of petrol. And over here I'll also say how much petrol will Jerome use. Jerome will use 32.77 litres. With a word problem, it really is important to make sure you give your answer in words as well. So it doesn't have to be long, but something that just really does answer the question is quite important. All right, how are we going? 9 minutes. Don't want to go too much further. Let's do a quick last example. If you're feeling confident, I would pause the video, do it on your own, and then unpause it to see if your answer is the same as mine. A Ferris wheel can accommodate 54 people in 20 minutes. There is my rate. 54 people, 24 minutes. How many people can ride the Ferris wheel in 2 hours? Now there's my question mark, because I've got minutes and here I've got hours. So somehow I've got to get the same quantity. Now I do know that 2 hours, I've got to get not the same quantity, I've got to get the same units. I know that 2 hours, well, every hour is 60 minutes, so 2 hours is actually going to be 120 minutes. So what I want to do now is see if I can go directly from 24 to 120. And the only way, I know I'm going to multiply, but to work out what I multiply by, I'm actually going to take the 120 and I'm going to divide by 24. And it turns out it goes in perfectly 5 times. So now I can times by 5 here, because obviously if the time period is longer, more people will get on the Ferris wheel. And when I do that, it turns out that 270 people ride the Ferris wheel in 2 hours. So how many people can ride the Ferris wheel? 270 people can ride. All right, that's it for me.